Wuthering Waves understands nuance in a way very few gacha games even come close to, and honestly, very few pieces of media in general. You see this most clearly in the Renaissance arc, which is packed with characters whose stories are layered, emotional, and deeply human. They're about family, sacrifice, and loss, and the writing doesn't just stay on the surface, it pushes us into deeper conversations, exploring subtle themes and difficult choices. And most recently, Augusta's backstory took this even further. We were shown her childhood, the struggles she endured, and the resilience that shaped her into who she is today. And what Kuro did with that story didn't just make Augusta more compelling, it made me genuinely excited for where her character is headed next. So in this video, I'm not just going to recap Augusta's story, I want to dive into the nuances that make her so much more compelling as a character, and more importantly, why that story made me incredibly excited for everything we're going to see from her moving forward. So if you enjoy this kind of content, make sure to like the video, and let me know your thoughts of Augusta's interlude quest. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you catch the same nuances I did? Or maybe something completely different? Share it all in the comments, and of course don't forget to subscribe and notification bell to on any of my future videos. But before we get into it, let's give a big shout out to the sponsor of today's video, Top Up Live. Top Up Live is your go-to for getting resources you need in your favorite gacha games, and all at a discount. We're talking currencies, characters, weapons, you name it. And right now, they've got 2 brand new characters available for less. That is Brant and Cantarella. If you're looking to add them to your roster or grab your weapon, Top Up Live makes it easy and affordable. Plus, if you use my code TIVE, that is TIVE, you'll get an extra 12% off on top of the discounts they already offer. So don't overpay and get what you need for less. Huge thanks to Top Up Live for sponsoring this video, and now let's get into it. Now, seeing the version 2.6 livestream and going into version 2.6 in general, it's no surprise to say that version 2.5 for Wuthering Waves has been underwhelming to say the least. But the Augusta interlude quest was pitched as one of the highlights of the version, so I went in with a lot of excitement. This was supposed to be the moment that shaped one of my favorite characters in the game, and honestly, after playing it, I came away with 2 big takeaways. First, it was incredible finally getting to know Augusta, her backstory, her struggles, and the journey that molded her into the person she is today. And second, and this might sound strange, but the best thing about Augusta's quest is that it was boring. I mean, think about the kind of backstories we've gotten in Wuthering Waves. The rover who at one point was the arbiter, the master of gods and beasts, the creator of the Black Shores, someone who went as far as wiping their own memory in a desperate attempt to save the world. Or Jinshi, chosen by a god to become the magistrate of Jinzhou, living with the burden that to grow stronger, she might one day have to fight the very deity who empowered her, all to protect her nation. And then there's Filova, who went from being a normal girl who loved music to working within an evil organization, all for the slim chance of saving her village after it was destroyed by a meteor. These are huge, almost mystic stories, but Augusta's, it wasn't grandiose at all. There were no gods in her past, no world-ending monsters, no cosmic stakes. This was the story of a girl who lost everything, her home, her family, everything she loved, and yet she kept moving forward. Augusta wasn't chosen by a god, a deity, or some cosmic force. There were no prophecies tied to her existence. Whether she lived or died, the world would have kept moving without her. She was, in every sense, just a normal girl. And like every normal person, she wanted more. She wanted glory. She wanted honor. She had dreams. She wanted to rise above her circumstances and become something greater. But unlike the chosen heroes of myth, she had to claw her way towards these dreams through sheer will. She risked death, sickness, exhaustion, everything just to get one step closer. And after enough battles, enough pain, enough suffering, she reached that dream. She fought, she endured, and she came out on top. And of everything in her story, what I appreciate most is its simplicity. Because when you think about it, Augusta's story is really the dream of the ordinary person. Take everything I just said about her and compare it to yourself, who we are as normal people. In the grand scheme of things, most of us are nobodies. If something happened to us, the world would keep turning, nothing would really change. But like Augusta, we are all chasing greatness in our own way. Whether it's in technology, entertainment, streaming, or anything else, we push ourselves day after day to reach a goal, to leave a mark, to become something more. And like Augusta, we hope that one day our efforts will have an impact, not just in our immediate surroundings, but maybe in our country or even the world. And that's why her story hit so hard. Augusta is one of the game's most important larger-than-life characters. She's tied to the sun, she has dragons fighting alongside her. Her moves are decorated with grandeur, but at her core, she's just a normal person. No prophecy, no chosen destiny, no divine power. Just a human being who fought for her dreams. They took this massive, awe-inspiring character and grounded her story in something humble, something real, and for me, that made Augusta unforgettable. And when you look at how the story frames Augusta as a person, everything starts to click even harder. Because at its core, Settlements is a nation built on 2 pillars: nobles and warriors. On one side, you have the nobles, petty, selfish, corrupt, protected by status and power. They are people who have never truly had anything taken from them. And on the other side, you have the warriors, peasants, foreigners, the overlooked and the desperate. People who have to fight for everything, fight for survival, fight for peace, fight for honor, fight for the smallest scraps of dignity. And Augusta's story is a warrior story. She didn't become a warrior because she was destined to or chosen by anyone. She became a warrior because the alternative was death. It was fight or die. And at the center of all this is the Great Aegon, which I'd argue is the single most important aspect of Septimont. Because the Great Aegon is the one event that both nobles and commoners can rally behind. And in Augusta's story, two things really stood out. First, the sheer animosity between the warriors and the nobles. The quest made it crystal clear just how much the nobles looked down on the warriors and just how much the warriors resented them in return. And second, and more importantly, it showed us why the Great Aegon matters. Because even though Augusta despised the nobles of Septimont, she still chose to serve under one in order to build her fame and fortune. And more than that, the Aegon itself became central to her growth as a character. You see, in order for Augusta to gain the backing of that noble, she had to complete 3 trials. The first was defeating a beast, and the third was facing Arsinosa, the guardian deity of Septimont. But honestly, the second trial was the most important of them all, because alongside the theme of fame, glory, and honor, this story constantly emphasized strength. How terrifying it can be, but also how awe-inspiring it is. And no trial captured that better than the second one, where she had to defeat 100 enemies. Now, as I said earlier, the Aegon is the heart of Septimont, and with every victory in that arena, Augusta's core journey came to life. Her fame and fortune skyrocketed because of the Aegon's significance, and her strength grew with every battle. By the time she had defeated all 100 opponents, she wasn't just another warrior, she was already a name everyone in Septimont knew, someone the entire nation was cheering for. That's why I believe the second trial was a true turning point, because the third battle against Arsinosa was more like icing on the cake, solidifying what everybody already believed about her. The real work, the real transformation happened in the Great Aegon. That was the moment Augusta went from being a nobody to somebody considered to be the F4 of Septimont. And maybe even more importantly, it was also the moment her own mindset was solidified. Because one thing the game makes very clear about Augusta is, like, unlike most nobles, she doesn't care about money or status. The only thing she values is strength. To her, the title of F4 isn't something sacred or untouchable, it's something anyone can claim as long as they're strong enough to take it from her. And I think that mindset, the very thing that defines who she is today, was forged during the second trial. That trial didn't just prove the cultural weight of the Great Aegon in Septimont, it also showed us where Augusta's beliefs came from. But of everything, I'd say the most interesting thing this quest does is how we connect Augusta's story to her gameplay aesthetics. Cause you see, from the moment we meet her, it's obvious that she's different from every other character in Septimont, and at first, you probably think that's just game design, a choice to make her stand out mechanically and visually. But through this story, those design choices suddenly make sense. Take her accents for example. Most Septimontians, whether it's noble or commoners, have that posh, almost British tone. It's clearly a cultural marker. But Augusta doesn't sound like that at all. Her voice immediately tells you that she's not from Septimont and that she's a foreigner. What seemed like a unique flair for her character now ties directly into her backstory. The same goes for her clothing. At first, it might just look like a cool aesthetic, armor and outfits that make her appear battle ready. But after learning her history, you realize that it's not just style, it is substance. Augusta has lived as a warrior since childhood. She's fought countless battles, shaped her mindset around strength, and survived by always being ready for the next fight. So when you see her dressed for war at all times, it stops being an artistic choice and becomes an extension of who she really is. Even when you look at her weapon, arguably one of the most striking things about Augusta, it tells a story. That massive blade made up of countless smaller swords looked like pure aesthetic flair at first, and normally, details like that don't have much of a backstory, but with Augusta it is different. Because you see, that quest not only spoke about Augusta's history and feats, it also spoke about her forte, her abilities. In the second trial, when she had to defeat 100 enemies in the Great Aegon, her forte wasn't naturally strong enough to carry her through that challenge. So what did she do? With every opponent she brought down, she took their weapon and piece by piece, fused them all together using her forte. And the result is the enormous sword she wields today, a weapon literally built from her victories. A weapon that embodies her struggle. And that's what makes Augusta so fascinating after this quest. She's no longer just an aesthetically pleasing design. From her voice and accent, to her clothing, to her weapon, to her mindset, everything about her is a direct reflection of her past. She's not just a flashy character, she's a living depiction of her own history. Every detail you see on her is something she earned, something shaped by the battle she's fought since childhood. So with everything we've seen about Augusta, I think Wuthering Waves has finally answered a question that's been in my head ever since I first saw her. Because these days, I don't wonder whether a story in Wuthering Waves will be good or not, I already know it will be. What I ask instead is, how interesting will it be? Renecita and everything else has proven to me that whatever Kuro gives us will always be compelling in some way. And that's why Augusta's interlude stand out. With a story so simple, no gods, no monsters, no world-ending stakes, Kuro still managed to make it powerful, nuanced, and deeply meaningful. It shows that they don't just excel at the grand, larger-than-life narratives, they can also ground us into smaller, more personal stories that still hit just as hard. So yes, I'm excited for the version 2.6 updates because I want to witness her story firsthand. But what about you? What did you think of her interlude? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Or did you notice details I didn't mention here? Let me know in the comments, and as always, I'll catch you in the next one.